Hey everyone, happy Friday. We made it through another week, and I'm so excited for this discussion today because ITExpo in Fort Lauderdale is coming up February 13th to 15th, and we have quite a crew here today to chat all things tech in advance of the show. Welcome, gentlemen, and Rich, set the scene for us for those new to this live stream. Who are you? Who's ITExpo, and why should you come down to Fort Lauderdale February 13th to meet who's who in tech?
So ITExpo is the premier global event for communications and technology, where companies, organizations, whether they are resellers or end users of technology, government, etc., they come to this event and they come to look for solutions to make their companies more productive, efficient. If they're resellers, they're looking for ways to become more profitable. And the types of resellers that come to the show are managed service providers, your local IT company, and service providers, communication service providers. The companies that are supplying your telephone and as well as your communications networks, your fiber optics, etc. So it's really the single place that people have been coming to for 25 years, hundreds of thousands of attendees over that time frame to meet with thousands of other like-minded buyers. And so that's their colleagues, their peers, but also with hundreds upon hundreds of some of the most important technology providers on the face of the earth.
Wow, well said. So we can all go home now. We got the elevator pitch, but we have a couple of special guests today. George from Fusion Connect, really interesting and innovative service provider. George, maybe introduce yourself, and for those who may not be familiar, who is Fusion Connect?
Sure. So I'm the CMO at Fusion Connect. I've also got product development responsibility for the company. We play in an interesting part of the market. We're an enabler for a lot of stuff in the Microsoft 365 platform, including voice services, so teams calling into that. And part of the evolution we're seeing from a communication standpoint is this shift to a conversation just not being a conversation. It's the actual digital asset that gets created in that conversation, and how that can be used to do things like evaluate sentiment. It can be integrated with other elements of the organization to measure interactions with the customer base. And further downstream, with layering AI on top of it, it can be used to provide guidance actually in an interaction, conversation, phone call, whatever that interaction might be, to guide that person to be even better at what they're doing. So streamline a customer service interaction, or just streamline individual actions, even in internal or external meetings. The other shift we're seeing in the marketplace, and I think you're going to hear a lot about this at ITExpo, is sort of two things that are coming together. There's a platform shift. So there are a lot of organizations, in particular in mid-market, are going platform instead of a lot of individuals sort of best in class. They're trying to get sort of the best available in the platform and get some of the pre-integration, and then fill in any obvious gaps that plug in after that. And then the final piece, and we've all heard about this for the last couple months, it's been AI driven for the last year, but it's really now enabling those non-IT users to effectively be programmers. And this goes beyond just prompt engineering into how do I build tools to do process automation that is an AI element built into it to make myself more productive and my organization more productive.
That's a great overview. And, one of the reasons people go to ITExpo is to educate themselves and unravel the complexity of networks and devices and applications. It seems like you're doing that at Fusion Connect, right? You're taking the headache of building and running and managing a network and Teams and Cisco WebEx or whatever applications, including the security around those, off the plate of an IT or a network engineer. Or am I describing that right?
That's correct. And it's really, how do we bring that managed service element to all those tools and platforms and manage them in a cohesive kind of way for an organization? So take some of the things that are day-to-day kind of activities that your own IT staff may manage today. We can take over that responsibility. And it's everything from how do we quickly ramp up a service with the support of professional services, all the way through managing things as they go through the environment at the level that the organization needs. So if they're a large enterprise organization and they're capable of managing all the pieces, great. We'll provide the underlying infrastructure and the tools to get you there. If you're a mid-size or smaller organization, you may need more support, and we can align that level of support in a way that works for the org, right? It's sort of right-sized for the organization in a planned kind of way without it being a bespoke, right? It's not a one-off every time. It's part of a model that we use to go to market.
Fantastic. And that's one of the great things about ITExpo, Rich, is, we talk about Microsoft and the other magnificent six, tech giants, but it's also an opportunity to meet the ecosystem partners of Microsoft. I mean, find out about endpoints and the Microsoft partners like Fusion Connect and the various devices. And they're all there at ITExpo, right? So it's really an interesting opportunity about the ecosystem.
Very, very true. We do have it's a tremendous number of vendors. The ones that are exhibiting and sponsoring are many hundreds, 300 plus, and then there are a lot attending as well. Hundreds more attending, and so the networking opportunity is probably, I'd say there are no other events that are exactly the same in terms of what we're doing, in terms of the kinds of groups of people we're bringing together. And we've heard in the past from attendees that just spending a couple of days at the show is the equivalent of what they would need to do in a period of a month and a half, a month, 2 months, just a long time frame. By the time you piece together all of the research you can do in a few days. And it's not just, there's a level of impulse buy or impulse discovery that we all know when we go to the grocery store, and if you have children and you go down an aisle with candy, or you're checking out where there's candy, that impulse decision, the child sees the candy, wants the candy, right? It's something maybe that arouses interest once you see it. You didn't really think about the Twix bar until you saw the Twix bar. But the one of the reasons why we have found, and we've been doing shows now since 1986, we've yet to see a single event replicate the impulse discovery of a live event, of a trade show. And what I mean by that is that you're walking down the aisle because you want to go and meet with XYZ company, and you see Greg Welsh and Cyber, and you're like, oh my God, what do you guys do? You see what they do, and you see that they're dealing with advanced encryption that you need, that you didn't even think you were coming to the show to find out about. You didn't know that he was going to be at the show because Greg's company is a startup. It's like one of the most amazing startups out there. It's somewhat under the radar, and he's going to break out at the show, and it's going to be awesome for him and his company because people are going to discover him. But how would you have done that otherwise? And the answer is it's very difficult to discover the hidden gems if you don't know what to look for. Sure, you can search. You can search on Bing or Google, whatever you like, DuckDuckGo, whatever your favorite is. But how do you know to search for something you didn't realize you needed, or you didn't know the company was out there solving the problems you had? So I think this might actually be a great segue, Greg, because then this is a chance to tell people what they will come and see at the show. And so for those people that aren't watching this video, right, they're walking the hall, they're going to run into, what are they going to see at the show? Why should they come visit your booth?
Well, look, it's a great intro. And look, this is my 15th startup, right? And I think that I've probably unveiled 5 or 6 of them at ITExpos over the past, right? And so I just say that because exactly what, you all have been talking about. I mean, ITExpo is a mixture of so many different things. It's not one thing. You shouldn't and you can't pigeonhole it one place. I mean, we started forever ago in the voice over IP space, literally in the early 2000s, and that morphed into other things. And here I am today, as you said, cybersecurity, and to me, I've built these platforms my whole life, in the telecom world, in the video space, in the voice over IP space, and they have always been attacked and threatened by cyber events, whether it be DOS attacks, internal employees, that may hack you and then hold you hostage or ransom. So that's what we're excited again to launch at the show, and that's we are launching our company at the show in a very short period of time on the 13th of February, and we're super excited. And we appreciate always the support of you, Dave, and the team at ITExpo and the vision. And like I said, I'm excited to again launch our company at the show. So as you
That's
said,
so exciting.
You can come see our company in tech. Yeah.
Greg, just give us a sneak peek into the launch, into maybe the high level value proposition and your go to market without giving too much away in advance of the launch, but would love to hear more.
Yeah, no, thanks, Evan. And look, I mean, like I said, I built a number of tech companies, and they've always been under, attack. And so for me, it was like, how do you apply cybersecurity to voice, to video, to other aspects of data at rest and in transit? And what Cyber Photonics is, and who we are, is, we have actually created technology that's very, very, very secure, but very lightweight from a standpoint of process and compute, on a device and or on a network. So what that means is we can embed our technology into the lightest weight IoT device. So what we're launching at the show is a partnership we have with a company called Simplify, our first company. They manufacture enterprise routers. We are embedding our technology into the firmware of the router. That router can then be sent home by the enterprise to the employee working at home, and it provides post-quantum security for the employees sitting at home, working at home, connecting into the corporate network. So no different than the employees sitting in the comfort of the office, being secure and in that office setting, but now working from home, they can actually provide all of that data encryption, like I said, at rest and in transit, in and out of the corporate network. So CISOs, CTOs can feel safe and secure with every single employee working from home.
And it's worth mentioning post-quantum. The reason why that's important is quantum computing has the potential to break virtually all of the internet's encryption, or all of IT's encryption methods, meaning that if you have encrypted data today and you think it's safe, even let's say your information gets hacked, but you think you're safe because it was encrypted. What they stole was encrypted. Quantum computing is going to be able potentially to break those codes. And you're working on the next generation of encryption, correct, Greg?
That's right, Rich. I mean, look, we can go up to 10K bits of encryption strength. Post-quantum starts at about 512 bits. So, we could encrypt, 4K video. We can encrypt, and we're talking about telemedicine applications with, being compliant, with aspects of, of all the compliance that you need, in the health world, the world of health. So we are, in a scenario we can encrypt and we can protect anything. I mean, our mindset is, we believe that everything should be encrypted, because if the bad guys want it, they're going to find a way to do it. So, we take your diamonds and we turn them into coal. And even if you give the coal to the bad guy, they can't get the value of the diamond. So that's our mentality. I mean, talking about AI, I mean, how are these large language models protected? If they're public, LLMs, if they're private LLMs, you need to make sure that data doesn't get out in the wild if it's so, important, if it's your IP. So we believe, like I said, that, everything should be encrypted. To your point, Rich, I mean, there's a lot of people that are hacking and stealing data and holding onto it for the future when, the GPUs keep getting faster. Obviously, as you said, quantum computers are on the horizon, and they'll use that to decrypt this data.
Well said. And Rich, it's interesting. I mean, ITExpo is not just one event. It's almost a tech super show. You've got multiple resident co-located events happening, different tracks from cybersecurity to future of work. Tell us about how that all comes together. That's quite a feat to pull off.
Really what we do is we look for best of breed speakers, just the best ones out there in different subject matters. And we really, over the many iterations of this show, and this is, over 40 iterations of this event, we have just refined our processes to just perfect speaker selection and also topic selection. So, at this show, there are dedicated events focusing on IoT, something called IoT Evolution. There's an MSP Expo, like you said, Future of Work, a generative AI Expo. There's also an industrial IoT, an enterprise metaverse, and customer experience expo. And there's also going to be a cybersecurity theater, demo theater on the show floor. We have a pitch event. It's called IDEA, where you'll get to see some really cool new companies that are launching, and there will be some top judges, VCs and investors that will be judging, and you'll get to see live and even participate in the grading of these really cool companies that we'll get to see. And so it's in 3 days, it's really all about community in terms of meeting with like-minded people that are making purchasing decision makers. It's discovery, right? And it's also education. So it's everything you need to improve your company. And we talked off camera real briefly about how the productivity of the U.S. was greater than expected in the fourth quarter, and we've attributed that, or at least the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, attributed that to productivity increases, which traditionally are technology. And technology, one of the biggest productivity breakthroughs we've seen in the last year or so has been AI. So AI, improved collaboration, all of this plays into improving the output of the United States, but also global companies. And that makes us more productive. And I would say AI right now is at the first inning. We're in the beginning of the first inning of an AI revolution. And the AI revolution it's not just about, ChatGPT or Bard or Claude.ai or whatever it is that you like that's your favorite. That's just a piece of what's going to happen in the next 10 years. That same core technology is now integrating. It's finding its way into solutions, right? As George was talking about earlier. Companies are integrating AI into their solutions. And now we've got to figure out how to securely work with all of this amazing technology so that as these things interoperate together, how do we do that securely without getting hacked, without getting denial of service attacks that brings everything to a crashing halt? And, we've got great companies like Cyber that help protect those transactions and help protect us when we kind of get into this brave new world of even more connectivity between all these different cloud-based services that make us better and more productive and more efficient companies. And that's really what it's all about. How do we take our company, make it more profitable? If we're in the resale business, another thing you'll learn at ITExpo is how do I find more products to sell that my audience wants that I may not have even known were out there? How do I maximize the valuation of an MSP? If I'm a communication service provider, a big part of that business is now selling cybersecurity. How do I find the best cybersecurity tools? Fusion Connect, right? They've got leading edge unified communications as a service solutions. As we have this post-COVID world of hybrid work, how do I maximize the productivity of every one of those workers so that even if they're not in the office, I know their productivity is as good as it can be, right? Some companies are taking unique approaches to this. They're forcing all of their workers back to the office. If not, they're threatening to fire them. That may or may not be the best way to boost the morale of your organization, especially since a lot of people moved to suburbs or they moved, away from offices, the headquarters offices during COVID. And now they're in a position where they either are going to quit, they have to come in the office. What are they going to do? Are they going to, or the amount of inflation that we've all been hit with, especially now when it comes to transit and gas prices and car prices. So we're going to start asking everyone to come back in the office. Is that the way we're going to maximize our productivity? Now, studies have shown that bringing everyone under a single roof doesn't maximize productivity, but other CEOs will tell you that corporate culture cannot be maintained unless you're under a single roof. I believe that the hybrid environment seems to be the best way for us to go about this, and we're going to need tools like what Fusion Connect and others are providing us to optimize the work that we're doing, regardless of where we are, and also be able to see what's happening with our organizations. And the communications business is really interesting in that we generate so much data, right? Conversations, customers calling, internal discussions. And now we've got a technology, AI, that takes that data and amplifies its value by an order of magnitude. And so that to me is really exciting. That's why when I hear George is working on products, oh my God, that must be so exciting to see that you have access to infinite amounts of data that these corporations have. And now you can put a layer of AI and the information that you can get out of that, just I guess extracted or analyzed information is just beyond belief sometimes, right? So for example, if you've got customers calling, all of a sudden your call center has customers calling about something, you may not be aware of it in a normal situation, but going forward, AI will allow you to monitor the keywords that the customers are calling and complaining about and say, oh my God, there's a problem with this unit or this thing that we have out there. We better do something about it in real time. And now you can do things in near real time because you've got intelligence that can be applied to every incoming call within your organization. You can also use the AI and I don't mean to speak for you, George, and your products, but this is my dream world of the future, right? It's just like you can tap into the corporate culture of your organization with AI to see how happy your employees are. Are they happy? Are they complaining? Because they're chatting back and forth, right? So I know maybe that's intrusive. We'll table that discussion. But the point is, we want our companies to be as productive as possible, which guarantees success for our coworkers, for our shareholders. It keeps our customers happy, right? It's a win for everyone.
Yeah, really well said, Rich. And George, I mean, part of your attendance personally at ITExpo is some of the educational tracks. I think we're on a couple of sessions, panels together. I really enjoy those. I get a lot of insights and understanding of industry trends. What's on your mind as part of those tracks? What's top of mind for you and the team?
So I'll sort of merge two things, a little bit what Rich talked about and that question. On that question, you made the point, right? And I see this at every major event I attend. You see trends emerging that you didn't necessarily think were a trend, or you see a different flavor of that trend and it makes you step back and say, oh, I didn't think of that situation in that way. That's a different use case and a different outcome. When we look at some of the merging of data, there are a couple ways to look at it. There is physical data and then that voice and chat data and other things that are beginning to merge together. So, for example, from our standpoint, where we're driving to is to be able to take data where we see usage, and we manage many environments, so we see is the traffic going at the speeds it should go at, right? Even at that basic level. Triangulate that with calls coming in or chats or something else that there's an issue, we can very quickly identify, okay, in the Boston area, I've got an issue. I'm getting calls, I'm getting chats, and I can see data slowing down, something's going on, and then come up with a solution. Can we reroute, or at a minimum, immediately inform the client base so that the clients are aware? If you look at that in another environment, right, of combining data together, getting to real live active integration of data, not only what traditionally happens in a contact center or CCaaS platform, but all voice data and all other interactions. You could have in a situation where Rich calls into his healthcare provider and he's chatted, he's sent an email, he's done a form fill, he's had 2 phone calls. If the next time he calls in, the agent has an AI assistant sitting next to them that's looking at all those previous interactions, and that agent can immediately say, hey, Rich, are you calling about this? And Rich says yes. And then by the time, in the seconds it takes, the AI can then go gather that information from the repository and say, you were looking for this, I'm looking in the repository and this is the answer, right? It could be a health question, it could be a tech question, it could be anything. but you do several things with that. One is the CX goes up. So my experience is fabulous now. I didn't have to re-explain the thing over and over again. I didn't have they didn't have to understand it again or misunderstand it. They know what it is because AIs enable them to know it. And then on the business side, they have now taken what could have been a 4-minute interaction just to figure that out. They may have resolved the whole call in 4 minutes. So do you now have, 10% or 20% fewer reps on the phone, or do you now deploy those reps for more complex situations and you get an even better CX, right? So your cost basis may stay exactly the same, but your customer base is going to continue to build because that experience is so much better than it was before.
So well said. Well, that's going to be really interesting discussion to have at ITExpo. And the other thing I find that really happens there is the partnerships. I mean, you have VARs, you have MSPs like Fusion Connect, you have distributors, managed service providers, resellers. I mean, they're all there. And Greg, I mean, you're an expert in go-to-market, having done 15 plus startups. What does your go-to-market look like? And, what are some of the opportunities and challenges as a startup getting your product out to market, to the businesses, to enterprises?
No, look, I mean, I think, we chose ITExpo actually as the show that we're launching at, right? And I say that because of all of the things we've been talking about. But there are so many different kinds of companies there, so many different opportunities. So when I look at, attending the show, it's look, to your point, we're trying to find customers, but it is the collaboration, it's the partnerships. It's, we are a software company, right? So in order for our software technology to be deployed, we have to find a host for that technology. Hardware could be other software type applications. Like I mentioned, our partnership with Simplify, we're embedding it in a router for a work from home solution. I'm an investor in a space company called Sky and Space. We're embedding the technology in their ground terminals and their nano satellites. So when you have narrowband IoT solutions in the middle of nowhere, say a pipeline in the middle of Africa, we can encrypt and protect that data so someone can't hack and turn off a pipeline. So we're literally come to the show very open-minded, excited to find new opportunities, new places to embed this technology. AI is a very hot topic, obviously, for all of us, and we're all, really excited about what it is doing. And again, we go back to that point of, we feel that if your data is important, you should protect it. So, we're really excited to be at the show and meet, new folks. Companies, like George's. How can we help? How can we, collaborate together and think of even new ideas and new ways to, help protect this data that, we think should be protected at all costs.
Oh, really, really exciting. And Rich, there are worse places to be in Fort Lauderdale in February, right? So that's another appeal. For personally speaking, later that month, next month, I'll be flying to Barcelona. What a schlep, what a trek to get out to Barcelona and, walk around 12 different giant halls and get lost half the time. But, it really is a tight ecosystem. What are some of the demographics? I know you have a lot of visitors from South America, Europe, Japan, even to the show. So it's kind of nice to have a global event on our doorstep here versus having to travel halfway around the world.
7,000+ people coming from all over the world. And we've actually, believe it or not, this year was higher up on the Japan scale than normal. Like normally, our East Coast show doesn't do so well for Asia. But this year we've got pretty good participation from some very prominent companies in Japan, which stood out to me. But globally, really, it's from everywhere. I mean, you start with Canada, which is obviously it's a quick flight for them, and they want to get out of the cold, and while they're doing their business at the same time, it's just a win-win. Europe, South America, Caribbean. And so we do well globally. It's become a global show, and certainly we were approached some years ago to take our show down to Latin America. Someone said, "Oh, you should do it in Latin America," and so we did a survey of the Latin American attendees at the show who flew up, and we said to them, where in Latin America should we do this another version of this show? And they said Miami. So basically, we're there, right? So the show generally has been Miami or Fort Lauderdale every year. So basically they love the South American community, Caribbean community loves to come to South Florida, and so that's great. And then we also have a great following throughout the U.S. and especially Midwest, right, northern states, New York, etc. We have a number of people coming, even from the West Coast, a good amount coming from the West Coast as well. So it's global, and our attendance is up. It's the largest exhibit hall we've ever had. Just a lot of excitement about the show.
Indeed.
We're just hearing things, people saying we can't wait to come. Kicking off the new year, budget season, looking forward to finding solutions. So it's all good. We're just happy to be post pandemic, right? That's behind us now, and we're back to normal. And shows are a great place to do business.
Fantastic. So final call to action here. It's not too late, of course, to travel. Flights are kind of cheap now. Actually, I noticed when I booked my trip, it was pretty reasonable. But it's not too late to attend, to sponsor, to exhibit. Maybe even to join a panel or two. I know they're being formed right now, right?
There are a few openings. There are a few spots left, like maybe 2 or 3 spots left for exhibiting. Sponsorships, yeah, there are still sponsorships being sold, believe it or not. And panels, yeah, to the extent sometimes we have someone drop off for illness or some other issue. We do have a few spots here and there. And then the other thing I just want to let everyone know, especially if you've already signed up for the show, don't forget to download the show app. Please, it's in the Android and the iOS store. And the reason why I ask you to do that is because that way we can keep you informed on just what's happening at the show. Like, keynotes are starting, or the exhibit hall's opening, or the party's starting, things just to remind you and keep everyone connected. And it's also a great way to interact with other members of the community while you're at the event.
Well said. Well, I'm excited to be there. I can't wait to see you, gentlemen. And until then, thanks so much for joining us, just sharing your quick insights. So much more to learn at ITExpo, and have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See you soon.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Greg. Thanks everyone,
guys.
for watching.
See you soon in
Reach out.
Florida.
See you soon. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Bye-bye.